Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. What's going on, guys?
Let's talk some sports, baby.
This is
A Drink of Wisdom.
All right, fellas, let's wrap up tonight with a look at the rest of the free agents remaining. Besides the two aforementioned quarterbacks, there's a lot of talent left. Jadeveon Clowney headlines most lists as a former Texan Seahawk weighs contract options for 2020. Robbie Anderson, Everson Griffin, Emmanuel Sanders, Devontae Freeman, and Eric Reed are just a few of many names left for teams to sign. So, Jay, of these guys remaining, who's the most surprising to see still around, and is there a diamond in the rough out there?
Yeah, the most obvious has got to be Jadeveon Clowney. And it's got to be a case of the market just not being what he thought it was going to be. And some of it's got to be just when you look at pass rushers, you know, the obvious statistic you're going to look at is sacks. And he only had 3 of them last year, which is just outrageous when you think about it. But really the only game I'm looking at last season where I really think Clowney put his stamp on the game was that prime time. It was a Monday night game against the San Francisco 49ers. And he was a game wrecker in that game. And it's just one of those situations where the consistency just doesn't appear to be there. And that could be a reason that he's still on the market. But, I mean, the talent is undeniable. And when you saw what he did in that game, because at the time the 49ers had not lost a game yet. And this is a team that ended up making it to a Super Bowl, and they were dominant for much of the season. And Jadeveon Clowney the 49ers got some good offensive linemen, and he was toying with them all night. So that's absolutely surprising, and he's going to get signed eventually, but I guess it just won't be for the money he wants. I'm looking at Emmanuel Sanders when you talk about diamonds in the rough. I know he's 33 years of age, but if Jimmy Garoppolo makes one more throw in the Super Bowl, we could be having a different discussion and singing a different tune. And that was Sanders running that deep route right down the middle of the field that Garoppolo missed him on. And, he looked pretty good to me. I know he came off an Achilles injury the season before last, but Denver let him go. They traded him to San Francisco. To me, that was the big trade that really, really took that offense to the next level. And it appears to me, I think he's got a lot of football left. I like his route running. I like his toughness. He still can get behind the defense. So Emmanuel Sanders, he's going to play football next season. I still look at him as a guy who can be a starting receiver for you. And I'm looking at, you consider the lack of weapons for Carson Wentz last season. Maybe this is a guy they look at bringing in. Maybe not, though, when you consider you got Deshaun Jackson. He's pretty old. I don't know if you want to have 2 old receivers out there. But, I mean, you talked about Aguilar. We know he ain't reliable. He's the last person you would want to be carrying an infant around. And then, Alshon Jeffrey, he's been sort of lackluster and just injury-prone lately. And the Eagles need more weapons. Perhaps they should look at a guy like Emmanuel Sanders to come on board.
Yeah, like Jay said, Jadeveon Clowney, that's the obvious. Like, we didn't foresee him being on the market this long. And I'm going to be honest, I'm very surprised what went down between his conversation between the Texans, going from the Texans to Seattle. Because if I remember correctly, I thought the reason he picked Seattle because there was some understanding that they would sign him to a longer-term deal once the season was over. I guess that didn't happen as I was hearing it. And they, pulled a card and said, no, you didn't give us a no. All right, cool. That's the obvious. Another guy I want to look at that also played a defensive end position, Everson Griffin. I thought he was doing pretty well. I mean, yeah, he's 32. We know that age is 30. It tends to be that negative hanging fruit over your head once you hit 30 in the position. But, I thought he played very well for Minnesota. I was very surprised. Now, maybe they didn't want to pay him, salary cap league. You don't want to pay him. You let him go. But I thought as soon as he announced he wasn't coming back, somebody was gonna be like, "Hey, sign him up. Let's get him on in here. Let's go ahead." I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by the time we post this show, he done signed with a team. Who knows? So I was very surprised to see that he's still out there on the free agency. My diamond in the rough. I'm gonna go with. Well, I wanted to say Emmanuel Sanders first, but I take this segment second. So, and the only reason I say that is because I thought a deal between him and the Dallas Cowboys was signed, sealed, and delivered. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, they're working on them. Oh, they're going to eat something. This is going to be a good pickup. Emmanuel Sanders is going to be a replacement for Randall Cobb. All right, here we go. And today they say, no, not so much. So I do think within the next coming days, he will get signed. Just like Jay said, he still got juice in him. It's not like he was like some guy that was just gimpy, just flopping around the field. Because if you remember when he first got to San Francisco, hey, that was Jimmy Garoppolo's guy. That was his guy. He hooked up with him all the time. It was him and Kittles. And all of a sudden, he got hurt or something, and their relationship got a little frizzle, got a little frazzle dazzle there. But I do think he will get signed. I just don't understand why the Cowboys didn't sign him. I don't think he was asking for that much money, but we'll see what that is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Everson Griffin as my surprise guy, and I go with Emmanuel Sanders as my diamond in the rough.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney, I am a little bit surprised as well that he hasn't found a home yet. You're right. The stats were down for Seattle, but he's still a really impactful player. I think the Jets might pick him up. That's just a team I'm kind of kicking around thinking about. But for the right price, the Jets defense could go from pretty good to great, with his addition. A couple of the guys in that line already, maybe take some pressure off him to be as good as, maybe he was with Houston. And he was at his best when he had, J.J. Watt opposite him. And we know how defensive ends go. You get another guy that can do what you do, makes your life a little bit easier. And yeah, as far as the biggest surprises go, again, Emmanuel Sanders, but also Robbie Anderson, both of them, I'm just surprised that the wide receiver market really hasn't kind of been all that hot. I mean, you had, of course, Amari Cooper got paid. No doubt on that. And you had Hopkins, his highway robbery to Arizona, and Stephon Diggs. But then, you look after that, you think there'd be, okay, the teams will start kind of picking it up as far as, there's not a lot of big free agents after those guys. So the few you have, like Anderson and like Sanders, you would expect. Like y'all said, Sanders, 36 receptions, 502 yards, 3 touchdowns in 10 games is a big difference from San Francisco. You think despite the age, he would get a deal somewhere. Jay, like you said about the Eagles, that's not a bad idea at all. And then why the Jets haven't tried to keep Anderson or been more productive in getting him a deal? Like who's Sam Darnold will throw the ball to? I mean, my God.
Ain't no lie. Yeah, like they just up there swimming in offensive weapons.
Right.
Like,
I mean, they've done nothing, and then the one offensive weapon you have, it's like, we'll look in the purse, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we looked at it, and then we checked Le'Veon's bank account, and that's where it all is.
Yeah, him and so his bowling alley, his budget. As far as the diamond in the rough, a player I look at you can get for a good price that could still be productive is Ziggy Ansah. This is a guy that went to Seattle, and he didn't have a great year. I mean, he really didn't. It was by far his career worst. But it's come out of sense. There was a couple injuries he was playing through, and it could have been a bad fit schematically. It does happen from time to time. He averaged 8 sacks a season for 6 years in Detroit. He was really stable. I look at guys that are on bad teams that are stable and productive on teams that are bad and have a lot of turnover and they don't have a lot of talent around them. That to me, sometimes that stands out more than a great player also on a great team. So with his limited production, you could probably get him pretty cheap. But if you get anything near what he was in Detroit, you're going to get a home run of a value. So teams like the Vikings, who just lost Griffin, among others, like Linval Joseph, or maybe even the Giants, who I know have been looking at pass rush help, but they don't want to spend the money. Those are two teams that you think, hey, this is going to be a guy that could fit well and be productive for your team. So, yeah, overall, this list there's a few surprises on it. So there's plenty more free agency to go.